Hey, what's happening guys? Mike Moo here. Today we're going to do my first impressions review of the Pure Oxygen P500 air purifier. Just a quick little interruption here. I do want to point out that I did receive this product for free in exchange for a review, and I've actually had the air cleaner for, I'd say, 2 months now. In all that time, there have been no issues with it whatsoever, and I think that in its price category of $100 to $150, this is a great buy. If you're interested in it, please check out my links down below. If it's still in stock, I recommend you go ahead and try it out. All right, back to the video. I do also want to warn you that I geek out quite a bit in this air filtration video. There's definitely more information than you really care to know. So in a nutshell, I give it a recommend. So when I'm talking about air purifiers, I'm going to talk about the efficiency at which it does it, the noise level that it does it in, the style and design of the unit, and also the cost and feasibility of running this unit 24/7 or wherever you need to in order to keep clean air. This is first power on. Has a nice little tone, not too obtrusive. I hear it on already. It looks like what it's doing right now is it's checking the amount of particulates in air. And while I'm doing that, I have the remote control right here. Now this takes CR2025 batteries. I do believe they're in here, but I got to remove the plastic tab off of it. And let's see. No, they're already in here. Yeah, 3 volts. I think it's already fully installed. Okay. So at 8, it's actually not too polluted in air right now. I have different air levels I can set it at. That's by default turns on to level 2. That's level 3. That's level 1. That's complete sleep mode. Very silent. Actually, I'm hearing more of the refrigerator next to it than I am the unit itself. And then finally, the UV and the ion is actually on by default. So I was wrong. The battery is installed, but there's a plastic tab here. You can barely see the plastic here, but you're going to have to remove that in order for the battery to activate. Once you do that, it might be easier just to completely take it off. You can just take that plastic sheet off and put it away, and remember to replace the cover back on. So I'll put this cover back on. And I gotta tell you, the touch sensitivity is spot on. I barely had to touch anything on here. Personally, I would have preferred actual physical buttons, but I understand the touch interface is also fine too. All right, so it's on right now. I have the on-off. Press that, on-off. You got the auto mode, which is probably what most people should put it on. The timer function allows you to adjust in hour increments how long you keep the unit on. So it goes from basically 1 hour all the way up to 12 in 1 hour increments. Then we have the function setting, which allows you to adjust whether or not you want the UV on, whether or not the ion on. Actually, the UV doesn't go off at all. So it's ion on, something else, and ion off. Okay, then you got sleep function, which basically it sets it on the lowest setting possible, so it's super quiet. And then switch it back to auto for regular everyday use. The UV, there's an actual UV light that turns on inside, and I can see it right there. You can probably see it in the video as well. So UV on, UV off. Most people want to keep the UV on because that actually kills a lot of viruses. That's pretty much what UV light is good for, is just basically killing viruses. At the same time, every couple of months, supposedly, you should take the whole unit out, not the whole unit, but basically the filtration media out and put it out in the sun for 30 minutes or so and use the power of the sun's UV to go ahead and kill off anything that might be stuck on the actual filtration media itself. Now over on the left-hand side of the unit, looking down, this is where all the sensors happening. This is where it senses the level of pollution in the air and thus adjusts accordingly or gives you a little warning. Right now, this is completely green, right? And it's green because there's not many pollutants here in the air. Okay. So if I put something really smelly or fishy over here on the right-hand side, technically this should go up, or anything gassy. So I went all the way up to 8 to 10. Maybe my bad breath. Let me see if I put my bad breath on here. I don't know if that'll make much of a difference. Looks like I freshened it up. Just kidding. All right. So remote's pretty useful. What I'd probably do is put some Velcro on here. Just Velcro to the unit, because remotes like this tend to get lost. I suppose you could leave it on here. Keep in mind, though, that this is very touch sensitive. So you put it on, and as you can see, it already sensed something touched the power button there and thus turned it off. Now, I really like that this is super compact. It is, yeah, and it looks fine. It looks nice. One thing you got to keep in mind, though, is that because the airflow comes in from the back of the unit looking down, that you can't put this directly up against the wall. That's just not going to filter anything. So if anything, what's going to be interesting is that you should probably, if you're going to put it back against the wall, is unfortunately face it outwards. This way, you got the filtration coming in from the okay, well, you know what? That's a little bit of a design flaw, in my opinion. That's something that maybe they could do in the future, either pull it in from the side or pull it in from the front, because pulling the air from the back doesn't seem to make sense for me, especially if you don't have much space and you definitely want to be able to filter stuff coming in from most of the room rather than through the back. This product actually happens to be in stock right now. Check out my link down below. It'll run you roughly around $150 with tax. Really depends on where it is that you're shipping it to and from. And the best part about this kit by itself is that it is quiet. It is very quiet and also has relatively inexpensive filters. The filtration system is multiple levels on something that you don't typically find in air purifiers this price range. The price runs about $144 right now, and it is actually in stock. That is a relatively reasonable price range, and it's actually difficult to get something in that price range that has a true Hepa filter that does a decent job from one of the big name brand companies. Now, Pure Oxygen is a relatively smaller company. This was designed and manufactured over in China. That's really the only way they can do it. And it's a relatively small and scrappy company. Now, looking at the design of the unit itself, I really like how small and compact it is. It actually has a pretty decent, easy to use and understand interface that is both efficient and also has most of the features that people want in it. It has a touch panel up above. It includes a remote control with the batteries already installed. You just have to pull the plastic tab. The remote control can control all the features on the unit. I've tried it a good 20-some feet away. It was able to function no problem, just a standard infrared remote control. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons. It has 8 buttons on here. You probably don't need to worry about most of the buttons because it has an automatic mode, which is great. And how that works is you turn it on. I'm going to turn it on right now. You can hear a little sound. You can also do that through the on-off button on the remote control. And when it turns on, it's going to set up in a default mode. Now, this is because I just plugged it into a brand new socket. So it starts out like that automatically. There is an automatic button on the remote control here. I press the auto button on here. There's an A that shows up on the screen itself. Now this A just means it's on auto, and what it's doing is there is a sensor over here on this side of the unit. This is where it senses the air quality that is around the unit itself. It has a sensor for air quality, even has a sensor for temperature. The temperature really isn't going to matter to you too much, and also here in the United States, particularly not so much because it is only displays in Celsius, and there's a special trick that you need to get through Celsius. So I'm not going to talk about the temperature sensor, but it does have a sensor that's supposed to check out at a accuracy of PM 2.5, which is 2.5 parts per million, and give you a readout of the amount of pollutants that are in the air once it comes through. Now, in general, I find that in a regular household, or when the room does not have too much stuff going on here, I get roughly around 6, 7, or 8. That's parts per million. So I'm not going to see any particles flying in the air when the suns go through too much, unless I shine a really bright light, then I might see particles here and there. So I'm getting between 8 and 13 over here in this environment, sometimes up to 6. So it seems to be fairly accurate based on my other air cleaners that I have. Now, I wish that this responds and is a little bit more sensitive than I like during my testing, but it does a pretty good job, and it's not something that is available in a lot of air purifiers in this price range. Okay, next up, the design. Now, here is a design flaw and a design problem in my opinion. I love that the air comes out this way. Okay, so that's typical of a lot of air purifiers, is that it pushes the air out and straight and up. And the intake, it'll pull out from somewhere, either the side, middle, or the front, or the back. Unfortunately, in this case, the air comes in through the back. Okay, now why is this a problem? The problem is that most people don't have a massive space around in the house, all right? And usually when someone sets this up, they usually tend to put it right against the wall because they want it kind of out of the way, you know, as fun and as stylish design as you can make an air purifier. This is not something you put out in front and center, particularly since you got this white power cord that has to go to the wall, right? So the air draws in from the back. Now, if you put this directly against the back, naturally, you're not going to get a whole lot of good air filtration. There's going to be less airflow because it is all pulling in from the back. Now, ideally, it would have come in from the front, the sides, or some other direction except for that, all right? Now, it's not exclusive to this unit that does that. I just wish that they made that adjustment and that change. Okay, now a couple of other things in talking about the design. The air filtration unit and the air filter in the back is really easy to replace. I really like that because it's just simple. You just stick your 2 fingers in here, pull it out, and it's a one-piece design such that, they even have these tabs here that you could just pull right out. So that's really cool. So this just comes out like so, okay? Now, if you move it around, you can hear some of the stuff in the media that's in here. That's because this is a multi-layer solution. I believe there's 4 different layers going on in here. You have the first pre-filter, which actually helps reduce the amount of pollutants that might get caught up in the Hepa filter. And this is just basically for dust and dander, any bigger particles. Then you got the whole Hepa filtration media in here. And then inside of this, which I did not pull apart, there's actually some other things like carbon. There's actually a carbon filter in there that helps with the air smells. Okay, so that's kind of what takes care of in here. And I can't really take this apart. The best part about this is since it's an all-in-one design and also designed specifically for this unit itself, you can actually just get a replacement for $30. And I like that because that puts it on the cheaper end, particularly for something of this size. Speaking of size, even though I didn't mention it earlier verbally, this will handle supposedly up to a 550 square foot place. For a typical bedroom, that's a 10 by 10, that's only 100 square feet. So imagine 5 times the size of a typical American household bedroom. And this is enough for it to go ahead and handle the air cleaning needs of a room that size, presuming that you set this up correctly and make sure that there's enough space in the back for it to suction in the air. Now, I like that this actually has a sleep mode, all right? The sleep mode is something that I really like because I like to sleep nice and quiet. And it's easy to access. I can press the button right there. It just turns to sleep, and basically it just turns off all the lights. And actually, if I just press the button on a remote, it'll do the same thing too. It'll toggle it on or off just by pressing the sleep mode. On or off, okay, whatever mode that it was. Now, the thing with the sleep mode is that, okay, turn on the sleep mode, and it'll have to turn off the lights at the top so it doesn't produce too much noise. Oh, sorry, not noise pollution. Turn off the lights at the top so it doesn't produce too much light pollution. And also, it reduces the noise pollution that you get. Some people, though, really want to be able to sleep with some noise on. Now, you can't turn off the lights separately, which would be nice if they were going to have all these buttons. One of them might as well have been a light function, like a sleep with a light function. Unfortunately, in the sleep mode, I cannot adjust the speed to level 2 or level 3. Okay, so at level 3, I can definitely hear the unit on. It's going to be 70 some odd decibels in level 3. This will really clear up the room. If there's no one in there or you don't mind the white noise, then leave it on level 3. Startup default's level 2, and the speed over at level 1 is very, very quiet. And I do believe, let's see, the sleep mode, I do believe the sleep mode. Okay, the sleep mode's actually even more quiet than level 1. So let's just call it that there are, let's see. It's pretty close. Let's just say there are only 3 solid speed modes in here. Now that's typically enough for most people. I prefer if there were actually more speed modes, maybe 10 would be nice, but again, that's something that, you know, you're not going to be able to get in a unit like this. Now there's also a timer function. 1 to 12 hours is what's available. I typically feel like if there's something that can do a recurring timer with a clock, that would have been better. This way you can set it up to a certain speed. Maybe when you're away from the house to do a full cleaning or something before you get home. Things like that would have been really nice to add on here. But again, those are really premium features. This is not available. So it has a general sleep function for it to turn off from between 1 hours and 12 hours from when you turn it on. All right, so let's say you're home, you have it cleaning it up, then when you leave, you know, it'll already clean up the air, so you don't need it to be running constantly, using up electricity and power while you're away. That's the idea behind that, behind the sleep function. Now, there are other functions on here. There's an ion function and a UV function. Now, the ion function is a pretty interesting one because the ion function, what it does is it ionizes the air with particles. It charges them with particles. It charges them with a charge. It charges the particles with a charge. Those then attract to surfaces. Okay, so it'll actually kind of weigh it down. They attract to the particles themselves and make them fall. All right, which is good because then you don't breathe it. Not so great because then these particles can attach to certain things. Now, if this is designed fairly well, the idea is those ion charged particles will then attach to the filtration media. That's the ideal situation. Usually it works out that way, and fortunately it will take some time before I figure out roughly around the area that it will have charge the particles, and also roughly the area that these particles would attach to. And you'll typically see this in the form, let's say if you put this by a white wall, you will see some blackness around the white wall. All right, so for those functions, I can actually turn that off specifically. Then there is also a UV light function. This UV light function is an actual ultraviolet light that is inside the unit that you can kind of see a little bit from the blue of the light looking down. Now, this blue light actually uses UV light to basically kill bacteria and viruses. That's basically what it does. So I think I talk about every single function available on this air purifier, and I think I'm going to like it. Okay, my first impressions is I'm going to like it, particularly because air filtration units of this size, all right, of this size with filtration media that is relatively cheap to purchase, okay, and you can vacuum this out. You can pretty much extend this as much as you want, and they will also tell you when it's absolutely time to replace it. But not only that, it's kind of a square medium, all right? With these type of square mediums, with the air filtration unit, I'm not going to have a problem replacing this with something third party. If somewhere down the line, let's say the company goes belly up, it's pretty easy to get a square filter. Okay, you can get some really nice ones from 3M or something of roughly around the same size and probably cut to shape if absolutely necessary. I'm going to get some dimensions on this and figure that out, put it down in the comments. So in the future, you can actually probably just buy something separately from third party if you wanted to get HEPA class purification or something less, all right? So you have some options there, but $30 a filter really isn't bad. And basically it's $60 a year to cover maybe 500 square feet. Again, it highly depends on how clean or dirty your air is, all right? So that's one of the things that it comes down to. But yeah, I'm going to give this a recommend in this first impressions. There are some functions that don't work. There's some design issues that I went over, of course, in this video, but these are all things that I can overcome and willing to overlook. Now, finally, keep this in mind. I did receive this product completely for free, and I just free for review. Now, everything I say in this video is completely my thoughts and my thoughts alone, so no one is reviewing this before I'm posting this. Now, if I were to spend my own money, I would probably wait for a little bit of a sale. I'd wait for this to go around $120. I just think that's a magical price point. $100 would be even better, but I think at $120, I'm pretty good at $120. All right, because roughly if you pay for double that amount, you are looking in a different classification of a machine. It's going to be bigger. It's going to have a little bit more air delivery rate. It probably won't be as quiet and be as efficient, and the filtration media will definitely be more expensive. But you're looking at a machine and a company that's going to be around a lot longer than this one. Well, it's still too early to say. But seeing as they're having trouble keeping these in stock, it seems like they're selling like hotcakes. If they're in stock right now, I'd recommend you consider trying one out. And if you are, please check out my link down below. That is an Amazon affiliate link. I get a small commission if you purchase anything by clicking that link from Amazon. It doesn't cost you anything extra and will really help my channel. All right, that's it for this video. Please do like, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.